Hello everyone, this is Vishwesh from VishiV TechLearn. In this video, we are going to learn about English grammar and more specifically punctuation marks. So there are total 14 punctuation marks, out of which first one is comma. Comma can be used in three different scenarios, out of which the first scenario is when a subordinate or less important clause or maybe a part of sentence comes before the principal clause or the important part of the sentence. Example is given, if you do not go, comma, help me. So when we are communicating with a person, we say that if you do not go, help me. We take a little pause when there is a comma. So this is how one of the use of comma is. Second use is to separate phrases in apposition. The example is given, Mr. Brown, comma, the doctor, comma, said that he traveled to Canada. So here, to describe Mr. Brown in detail or specifically, the comma is used. And the third use of comma is to separate the items in the same list. For example, she traveled to America, Canada and Australia. So this is how we can use comma in these three cases, 1, 2 and 3. So first one use is to join two sentences. Second use is to describe the same person or thing. For example, Mr. Brown, the doctor. And third use is to separate items in the same list. For example, America, Canada, Australia. Now let's move on to the second punctuation mark, full stop. Full stop can be used in two different scenarios. The first one is obviously that we all know, when a sentence is completed, we use full stop. Example, Ali felt tired, full stop. He went to bed, full stop. Now second use is in the case of abbreviation. Example, etc. Etc. has a short form etc, and after etc compulsory we have to give a dot. That is how grammatically correct and correct use of punctuation mark. Even for Mr, the short form is mr and a dot or full stop. So this is how we can use full stop in two different ways. Next is colon, that means two dots, one below other. Now these can also be used in two cases. First one is the use of a colon indicates that what follows is an explanation of what precedes. Example, they have some news about the story, colon, John's father has arrived. Second use is, it is also used to introduce a list of the items. For example, to travel, you need the following items: a passport, a visa, an application and the correct fee. Now next punctuation mark is semicolon. The difference between colon and semicolon is symbolically, colon has two dots, one below other, semicolon has a dot and below comma. So this is the semicolon. Semicolon can be used in two different ways. First is to join two independent but related clauses or sentences. For example, she is a good writer. She has published several books. Now these two sentences are actually separate, different sentences, but since they have some relation in between them, so these two sentences are joined by semicolon. One more use of semicolon is it can separate clauses of conjunctive adverbs. Examples, we shouldn't go to the fair. However, I do hear that they have good funnel cakes. Our next punctuation mark, fifth punctuation mark, is quotation mark. So the first use of quotation mark is for material that is quoted or emphasized. Example, Ali said, comma, I cannot finish my quiz. Now in this example, Ali is saying something and that whatever he is saying, that is inside the quotation mark. So this is first use of quotation mark. Second use is quotation marks are used to set off the title of short works. For example, the television show Cheers. Now the title of that television show is Cheers and that's why it is given under quotation mark. This is the second use. Now let's go to the next punctuation mark, apostrophe. Apostrophe is actually a very tricky punctuation mark to use and many students, learners make mistakes while using apostrophe. So first use of apostrophe, let's go through it. It is used to refer to possessive singular or plural. The boys, example is the boys' books. This is singular. The boys' books. This is plural. Now if you look at both the sentences, there is a apostrophe between y and s in the first example, and in second example the apostrophe is after s, after y and s. So this is for singular and plural. Next use of apostrophe is, apostrophe can be included while telling the time. For example, it is 8 o'clock. So here you can see the apostrophe is between O and clock. Third use of apostrophe is to show the letters which are missing in words or when we omit the few letters. Example, you are, you are. One more example, I am, I am. So in these examples you can see here U apostrophe RE, A is omitted, and in case of second example I am, the apostrophe is between I and M, here also A is omitted. So overall, if we see the use of apostrophe, it is very critical, tricky to use this punctuation mark apostrophe, and all the learners have to be very careful while using the apostrophe in first case, in second case, and in third case as well. Okay, now let's go to the next punctuation mark, and that is exclamation mark. An exclamation mark is used to signal the expression of strong emotions such as excitement. Examples: I can't wait. In case of panic, help me. Second use of exclamation mark is to emphasize the sentence. Example: there is a fly in my soup. So it can be given exclamation mark at the end. Here you can note that when you give exclamation mark at the end of sentence, you are not supposed to give full stop, because exclamation mark will work as a end of the sentence as a full stop. Our next punctuation mark is ellipsis. It has again two uses. Let's go through it quickly. The first use is to show that the speaker has been cut off abruptly. Example: whatever you do, comma, don't, and something something, dot dot dot. So here, when we read this sentence, we come to know that the speaker has been cut off abruptly by someone. Maybe by some action or by someone. We don't know that, but the speaker has been cut off abruptly. To show that, we can give ellipsis. So ellipsis is 3 dots. Second use of ellipsis is to indicate a trailing off in speech or thought. So example is given: we could do this, dot dot dot, or maybe that, dot dot dot. Our next exclamation mark is slash. Let's see the uses of it. Slash is used with fractions. For example, 1 divided by 2, 1 by 2, 1 slash 2. So here you can see it is denoted by 1 by 2, 1 slash 2, and its meaning is 1/2. Second example is 2 by 3, 2/3, and so on. One more use of slash is to separate the day, month, and year in dates. For example, he was born on 18th of March 1987. So to show this date, slash is used, 18/3/1987. Our next punctuation mark is question mark. We all know use of this, but let's quickly go through it. So question mark is obviously used at the end of a direct question. Examples: who is your teacher? Also, a question mark is used at the end of a tag question. Example: you speak English, don't you? Let's go to the next punctuation mark. It is hyphen. Hyphen is a short dash. Hyphen can be used to separate the prefix from the second part. Examples: co-opt, co-opt, t-shirt, t-shirt. One more example could be coordinator, co-ordinator, and so on. Second use of hyphen may be to join compound words. For example, 21, 20-1. Our next punctuation mark is parenthesis. So parenthesis is nothing but a round bracket. Let's go through its uses. Parentheses or brackets are often used to include extra or additional information into a sentence. Example: the library, which was built in the 17th century, needs to be repaired. So here, the actual sentence is the library needs to be repaired. Now, to give extra information, why it should be repaired, to give that extra information, this parenthesis is added, and in that it is written that which was built in the 17th century. So when we use this parenthesis, the reader will come to know that the library was built in 17th century, and that's why it needs to be repaired since it got old. The second use of parenthesis is to give additional but non-essential information in a sentence. Example: France, America, and Spanish, but not Chinese, may be studied here. So here also original sentence is France, America, and Spanish may be studied here, right? But in parenthesis, it is specifically mentioned that but not Chinese. This is how we can use parenthesis. So parentheses are mainly used to give additional but non-essential information. Let's go to the next part of punctuation mark, which is square brackets. The second last one. Use of square brackets is for clarification purpose. Now before square brackets, we have seen the use of parenthesis, as you can see here, parenthesis. Now parentheses are used for giving additional information, whereas square brackets are used to give clarification, to help the reader understand the sentence very clearly. Example: she drove 60 on the highway to town. Here the original sentence is she drove 60 on the highway to town, but extra information is given here, which is in the square brackets, mile per hour. So basically, when we are talking about speed of the car or some vehicle, we generally say the speed is 60, the speed is 80. Now it is obviously understood that it is mile per hour. It has no need to specifically mention. This is how the spoken English is, and even other languages also. So here, when we are reading from some article or some book, so here in square brackets we can mention the information which is to be given for clarification purpose and which is not the part of conversation. Let's go to the next and the last punctuation mark, dash. Now dash has two parts or categories in it, M dash and N dash. Let's see the uses of both. M dash is used to indicate a break, often informally, or to add parenthetical information. Example: they received a prize dash and a certificate as well. Now in this example it is mentioned that they received a prize. This is the original sentence. Now maybe the speaker who spoke this sentence might have added one more information in the same sentence, maybe after a long pause. So that's why dash is used, and the addition of sentences and a certificate as well. In case of second category of dash, which is n dash, it is used to indicate a range. For example, 1939-1945. The meaning of this is the duration period from 1939 to 1945. So this is how n dash can be used. So that's it about today's punctuation mark topic. I hope you have understood it very well. And my suggestion and request to all learners will be to please use punctuation marks very correctly every time. Thank you.